If I gave a fuck what y'all think I would be doing this? Welcome to the FMFU podcast, the podcast that's from me, for us. Vulgar but true, real and never fake. I'm your host, Reese, and I've got a lot of shit on my mind today, so let's get into it. Happy Friday, people, and welcome back to the From Me, For Us podcast, the podcast that's from me and for us. You know, I usually always kick things off by saying Happy Friday because in my mind, nothing can mess up my day when I know that I'll be off from work for the next 2 fucking days. But this is a really special Friday and a very happy Friday as it should be. First and foremost, today is the day. The day we all been waiting for. The day that I've been waiting to come out for the past 6 goddamn years. It is finally motherfucking Infinity War Friday. The Marvel culmination of 19 movies in 10 years that is regarded as the greatest intertwined cinematic superhero franchise of all time. Oof. Thanos is coming to fuck shit up. And I've been so goddamn hype about this shit. I booked my tickets as soon as they went on sale, I think, which was probably about 2 months ago. And I've been counting down the weeks ever since. I tried not to talk about it too much on here because I didn't want to take too much away from Black Panther and all the excellence of that. But I've been so hyped for this goddamn movie. So after I promote the shit out of this podcast today, as hard as it will be, my plan for the rest of the day is to stay off social media until after I get to the movies. Because if any of you motherfuckers spoil it for me, I will literally come to your crib and stab you in your goddamn neck in your sleep. Don't do it, bro or chick. But Infinity War is here. I'm ecstatic. And I'll probably be on a couple shots, cheesing the whole time, thinking that Justice League ain't got shit on this. So let's get it. Moving on, though, let's talk about Jermaine Cole. Now, unless you've been under a rock, J. Cole released his 5th studio album, KOD, last Friday, which was, ironically, 420. I say ironically because, well, when asked, J. Cole, he gave insight that KOD stands for a few things. These few things include Kids on Drugs, King Overdosed, and Kill Our Demons. Basically, to paraphrase what he stated in the album's trailer, he broke down the title by saying this: if I turn on the TV right now, it's not going to be long before an advertisement pops up that says, "Are you feeling down? Have you been having lonely thoughts?" And then they shove a pill in your face. Hence, that is the root of Kids on Drugs. The second meaning, he went and said, King Overdose is representing himself. The times that he was and is still afflicted by the same methods of escape, whether it be alcohol, phone addiction, or women. And then lastly, he said that Kill Our Demons represents breaking free of past trauma. That's the end goal, to face our shit. Realize we have some shit going on inside. I've realized everybody's family is fucked up because nobody is fucking perfect. Whether you want to or not, you're going to fuck up your kids in some type of way because you got fucked up in some type of way. The plan is to fuck up your kids the least amount possible. The first response to any problem is to medicate. Kill Our Demons is like finding that shit, whether it is from a traumatic childhood experience, whether it be from lack of attention, confidence issues, insecurities, or whatever it is. We got to be honest with ourselves. Look in the mirror or look inside and ask ourselves questions like, what's causing me to run to this thing as an escape? And once I find the root of that, let me look it in his face and see what it really is. I think the explanation of the title is very powerful, as I couldn't really disagree with any of those quotes that J. Cole had put out in that trailer. But besides the quotes and the meaning of the title of the album, let's get into the album a little bit. Like, typically most people who are active on social media who haven't listened to the album, I'm sure they pretty much seen the same shit on everybody's page, minus the few fucking trolls or haters here and there. Oh, the album is great. Oh, it's fire. Oh, I love it. And that's always good. But I always like to give my own opinion about things. And I will say, I think this is one of those type of albums it's one of those type of albums that are always a special treat. Like, think about this. Like, Cole, he always drops his shit randomly. Like, no fucking promo, no anything. Like, this time, when he dropped it, he just made, a Twitter announcement. So, because we don't get, a lot of times we don't get that. So, anytime something drops, it's just kind of like,
surprise, motherfucker.
Everybody likes surprises. So, when we get one, we get hype, we cheer, and we go a little crazy. But I think the album is more than just the hype of it being like a surprise album or anything that, or because it's the fresh new thing as we are, what have you done for me lately type people. With this being J. Cole's 5th album, I feel like that you can actually feel the growth from his first album, Cold World, The Sideline Story, as then he was just a young, hungry MC who just signed to Jay-Z, and he's transformed into one who has paved his own lane to do things his own way and even quote-unquote school the youth in a sense. The album is a solid 12-track, well-put-together 43 minutes of music that paints a picture as colorful as the album cover itself. It presents a great message based on what was explained by J. Cole in the trailer, but while listening, it puts you in a state of mind to sit back and think to yourself, what can I fucking do to make myself better? Or what alternatives can I use to help deal with stress rather than jumping straight to the bottle or straight to the herb? I'm not going to get into a track-by-track review of the album, as this is the FMFU podcast, and this ain't Double XL, and this is not the motherfucking source, and that's not what I do. But as hard as it is, if I had to choose a favorite track, I'd probably say my 2 favorite tracks in no particular order are probably Brackets and 1985. Brackets, that kind of brings shit full circle in a question that I always wanted to know for like forever. Like, where the fuck does my tax money go? Like, let's just throw out some random numbers. Like, I make a certain amount of money. We don't never discuss how much money you make. And I just look at how much shit comes out, and I'm just like, bro, if I got to keep that for the year, I feel like I would be fucking rich. Like, I mean, it's not like on paper rich, but it would be that much more money for me, like that I could live life smoothly. And so you think about this and you're like, man, they're taking all this fucking money out. Like, where does all this fucking money go? Like, because the way I look at it, I'm like, the housing market up here in the north is still fucked. Like, there's a shortage on houses. That's why the market rent for everything is so fucking high. I know everybody can feel this where there's snow and salt. Fucking potholes in these public roads. Like, there was a meme one time that said, like, you ever driving and you hit a pothole and then you just make that sound because you know you done probably rattled some shit off or fucked some shit up. Like, why aren't those getting fixed? And then also the shitty quality of the buildings and even the education curriculum in the inner city public schools of predominantly black students or inner city white students. It's just all fucking terrible. Like, a lot of people who's from bigger cities don't even send their kids to the public schools of the bigger cities they're from because they're fucking horrible. Like, how would the world be if we were able to actually handpick where we wanted our tax money to get contributed to? What would you personally choose to contribute your tax money to if you could choose? Crazy to think how the world would be if we actually had that option at our disposal.
It's the FMFU podcast, bitch.
1985 is the finale track and basically shows that growth I mentioned earlier about being able to quote-unquote school the youth, aka these new age rap niggas. Cole basically has a come here young blood and let me talk to you a moment by basically telling the new age cats that what they're doing now musically isn't impressive, but he won't knock anyone getting money, so it's fine. But you do have to think about the long run and the growth of your music. Are you going to end up on Love and Hip Hop? And that's the truest shit ever. Think about all the people on Love and Hip Hop. All the rappers or singers who used to be relevant or want to be relevant, but most of them can't sing for shit. Cardi is the only exception, and you see as soon as she got successful, she chucked the deuces on them ASAP. I tell you one thing though, when Joel Santana was casted as a member on Love and Hip Hop New York, I almost shed a tear because that really represented the end of one of my favorite eras. If anybody knows me from high school, one thing that they can tell you is that I grew up on the Dipset. This the movement that's moving the movement. Back like Cut Crack 1, 2, and 3. Riders Block Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Purple City Bird Gang. Shice Bob the Emperor. Uncasa. Rugerel. 40 Cal. The Rider of Riders. J.R. Ryder. Killer Cam. Jimmy. Freaky Zeke. Duke the God. Heatmakers. Whoever you need to name. Motherfucking niggas from London. Motherfucking SAS. It was Dipset or nothing with me and my crew. But the problem with the Dipset was that they never grew or evolved their music. The shit was always the fucking same. The tighter, but cipher the cipher. I'm right to the right. Like, it just was like, what the fuck? So I still go back and listen to old Dipset music here and there, especially like Cam's old albums. But I remember the exact moment when I was finished with the Dipset for sure. I remember I was riding to Cedar Point. For those who don't know, Cedar Point is one of the biggest amusement parks in the world that's located in Sandusky, Ohio. Look it up if you've never heard. And if you like amusement parks, you should maybe check it out because it has a big resort and everything over there. But anyway, so I was heading to Cedar Point and I was just listening to this 40 Cal mixtape. And I remember this song came on and I can't remember the name of it, but I think it might have been called something like Jungle or some shit. And the beginning of the song, like, you know, before like the 808 and the beat drop, you know how they play like high is pretty much gonna go in the background, whether somebody's singing or whatever the case is. But the start of the song was like the Lion King shit. So it was something just like, you know, in the jungle, in the jungle. And it was like the lion sleep shit. And for some reason, like it played that part for like 5 seconds and then the beat dropped and these niggas like in the jungle, nigga, like, and it's for some reason, that shit just pissed me the fuck off. Like, I'm not sure why that song did it, but it really made me mad. Like, what the fuck is this shit? I think I had gotten to a point where I was just like, are all y'all niggas gonna do is use sped up cartoon songs and create the same typical fucking Heatmakers beat behind it? Nah, bro, I'm just done with that shit. And I was officially done with the Dipset movement. But anyways, that's kind of the point that Cole was making in 1985. Your music has to evolve or eventually people are going to get tired of it. I think nowadays Future's probably a good example of that too. Don't get it twisted. I like Future. Future is dope. And I need certain, you know, trap songs or hype songs, you know, stuff that's going to get me ready. When, you know, when it's time to go out, time to kick it. I'm not going to listen to J. Cole because that's not the right time and place for that. But I will say about Future though, I think times have definitely changed a little bit because I tell you in about, I don't know, maybe 2012 to 2014, maybe in that range, maybe even 2015. Like you see a song on a track featuring Future, like I would literally, it could be song 16 out of 22. I would jump straight to that track. I'm like, I got to hear this new Future banger. Then I might go back and listen to the rest of it through because it's like I needed to hear that. It's only a few artists that have been like that in my life. Like Wayne was like that for a while. 2 Chainz was like that for a minute, and then Future. But, you know, it's not really like that anymore. It's kind of just like, okay, Future got a new mixtape coming out. Cool, I want to hear it. I know he's probably going to have at least 1 or 2 club bangers. And any other thing that he's featured on is kind of just like, you know, whatever. Really think it's whatever, too, because after that shit he pulled on the Black Panther soundtrack. La-dee-da-dee-da, slap on me now. But anyways, 1985 made me think about all of that shit because, like I said, it hit home with that Diplomat shit. And I think it also hit home when he said, you know, these white kids love you that you don't give a fuck because that's exactly expected when you're skin black. They want to see you dab. They want to see you pop a pill. They want to see you tatted from your face to your heels. And somewhere deep down, fuck it, I got to keep it real. They want to be black and think your song is how it feels. That shit makes a valid fucking point, as I've always felt, how I'm sure most of y'all have felt. Everybody want to be black, but nobody want to be black. And maybe even everybody want to be a nigga, but nobody want to be a nigga. However way you want to look at it. Just look at the Catch Me Outside chick. All like white trash or like white people who like try to be back. It's like they only try to like embody like what they hear from music or how we're portrayed ratchet or ghetto, as some of them try to call it on TV. So they take all of that ratchet shit that they see of black people, and what they try to do, and I'll use her as a good example. What's her name? Bad Barbie, Bad Baby. I don't know. I can't keep up with all this bullshit. But she'll take that moniker, this little 15-year-old chick who was bad as hell, need her ass whooped, takes this shit from this Dr. Phil episode or whatever, and turns it into this, and making all this fucking money. Uses all this shit, our culture, uses it to her advantage to appropriate it. And some of us dumbasses are listening to her fucking music. And there's even some fucking artists who have made money. Some of the new age artists, they're collaborating with this young girl. I just think that shit's all fucking sad. So, the words of those lyrics on that song, just about that and them wanting to be us, it's just powerful and true shit. What else is really powerful though? Cole has broken Apple Music's record for streams in the first 24 hours in the US. That's 64.5 million streams on his first day. That means that album has actually beaten the previous record holder, who was Drake. When Drake's album Views came out, it had about 63.5 million, according to the article. So he beat him by 1 million streams, and that's pretty fucking crazy because, like I said, Drake pretty much undefeated in just almost everything. So, and it also said online that 7 out of the top 10 most streamed songs in the 24-hour period on Apple Music were all from the KOD album. That's just fucking great. We celebrate black excellence everywhere. And then also, Spotify tweeted that KOD was streamed in the US in the first 24 hours 36.6 million times, which also broke the record for the most first day streams in the US for an album. Some are trying to say that the record was only broken like that because we have lots of hype beasts out there. I even had one person tell me a while ago that J. Cole only sells well because he is commercial. What the fuck? Commercial, my nigga? I think that's only rappers that can really be clearly defined as commercial, or rappers like maybe Flo Rida, Pitbull, and some of these other white rappers who want to be black. Let's think about like Logic and maybe even Post Malone. You can't call someone commercial if they have no promo, no pop type hits for the radio, no features, and they still go platinum. You gotta appreciate when an album comes out without the artist being a sellout, but being able to put out a good product along with hot lyrics. There's a balance with spitting hot bars, but being able to make a good song all at the same time, I'm sure that shit's not easy. Look at all the Smack DVD people who can spit all those hot ass freestyles and shit. Murder Mook, Sirius Jones, Red Cafe, whoever you can name. But what songs have you heard from these guys? Let's just appreciate the fact that an album with good substance has dropped. I know another artist who was able to burn that shit down and make good songs as well. And he just came home on Tuesday. Hold on, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished? Bro, I've got one thing to say. And I've said this shit a couple months ago, but I've got to reiterate. Philly is on fire right now. That city is so damn lit, it's ridiculous. Let's recap. The Eagles won the Super Bowl in February. Villanova won the national championship in April. The 76ers are playing some of the best basketball in the Eastern Conference. And last but not least, the native son of Philly has been freed. Meek Mill is finally home. Meek is a prime example of a few things within the urban community. Well, let's look at the first thing. First, it shows about, how we are as blacks and how we treat family. We might fuss or fight or clown our family or call you Twitter fingers or say you getting bodied by a singing nigga, but our family is our family. We all clowned Meek in 2015. Twitter fingers was a good example when the Drake beef started, and it just seemed like that there was just a string of things going on where just Meek Mill was just the butt of a lot of jokes for other things outside of his rap skills, because he's always a good rapper and makes good songs. But as it is with family, when it comes to something serious, such as a man's freedom, we all rally behind that. No matter how much we clown each other or fuss or fight, we don't play when it comes to serious issues. So of course everybody in the urban millennial community rejoices when he is free because we don't want anyone to mess with one of our own unjustly. As Issa Rae said on that red carpet interview, I'm rooting for everybody black. Meek being in jail was one of those situations that was definitely unjust. And it actually was a valid reason for some people to scream free Meek. It wasn't one of those situations where a dude murders a family and people are saying, man, free my nigga. You know, got a picture of Jason up and shit. And they like, man, free my cousin, man. He ain't even do shit. Knowing damn well that fool should be in jail, but they talking about free him. Yeah, okay. But reasonings for it to be unjust, let's give a little background for the people who don't know. Meek Mill basically has been a black man stuck in the system since he was 18 years old. Mind you, Meek will be 31 this year. So at 18, there was a situation where I guess some cops got word he was dealing drugs, so they busted in the house and then they said he had a gun. So then they beat the shit out of him and arrested him. So because he had a gun charge, he served 8 months in prison. And then after serving the 8 months in prison, although he was sentenced longer, he ended up getting a 5-year probation stint. Basically, it's a 5-year probation stint. And then there's this specific judge that it seemed like had it out for him because she was asking for favors and different things like this all throughout the time. So in 2012, they were saying that, Meek violated his probation because he couldn't leave the state. Like he had to get permission pretty much from this judge to go anywhere, like all his tour dates, anything like that. And mind you, this is around the time when Meek blew up from, his first major single, which was I'm a Boss. So, you're an up and coming rapper. You're trying to make a name for yourself. You made a mistake in the past and you're trying to move on and do better for, yourself and your future and your kids when they get older for their future. And it's basically like a job. And you have to book performances all over the country to make your money. How can you move on if you're constantly stuck and you can't go anywhere? So it seemed like the troubles continued to follow because in 2014, the same judge had him back in court saying that he violated his probation by booking performances outside of Philly without the judge's approval. So imagine if you got in trouble for something, you didn't get locked up and went to jail, but they said, okay, you're out here, you can work, but that's really all you can do. And your job requires you to travel. That's how you make your money. But you have a judge or somebody in the law saying that you can't travel to make your money. It's like a continuous cycle because it's like, how am I going to be able to make ends meet if you're not able to make money? Basically, this judge had to say in that and basically saying, well, you can't really do your full job because you didn't have my approval to travel. Or even if he did seek the approval, what if the judge said no? So fast forward December of 2015, same situation, similar. They claim he violated parole again. And then he was ordered not to work or perform or do anything before a trial that was going to commence on February 5th of 2016, where a sentencing was going to occur. And in that sentencing, he was sentenced to house arrest. And on top of the house arrest, he got an additional 6 years of probation. So with all this going on, that basically pushed his probation from, what would I say, maybe 2008, I think we said, all the way to 2022. That's a long damn time to be either on parole or on probation. And any little slip up can just get your ass back in jail. That just seems freaking ridiculous, right? So finally, March of last year, Meek was in the airport in St. Louis. And someone asked Meek for a pic in the airport. And Meek declined. He didn't want to give a pic. Apparently, after something happened, what they're saying is that a fight broke out. And it's all really just because he didn't want to take a pic. And it's ridiculous. And then later on in that year in November, he was arrested for riding a dirt bike and popping a wheelie in NYC the night before. So think about this. So that's like, let's say hypothetically, you're driving your car and you don't fully stop at a stop sign. And let's say that's something that could like put you in jail, hypothetically. And you don't fully stop at a stop sign. You make a right, and like a cop's right there. You make a right turn. You keep going. And then the next day they come to your house saying, we need to arrest you for running a stop sign. And you're like, well, what fucking stop sign did I run? I saw the cop right there. He didn't say nothing to me. Well, that's pretty much what happened to Meek with this fucking dirt bike. The motherfucker was riding a dirt bike, because they ride a lot of dirt bikes in Philly. I used to see it sometimes. And was popping a wheelie for like 10 seconds. And the cops that were there, they didn't even arrest him at the time or even issue a ticket. The only reason he was arrested was because it ended up getting posted by either, I think, TMZ, and of course it went all over on social media. Yeah, I didn't know that social media was something that causes you to arrest someone when there were already cops that are standing right there that didn't do anything about it. So after it's all said and done, though, even with the St. Louis incident and the NYC incident, the charges were both dropped. So initially, Meek, he avoided jail time because he wasn't charged. But however, this fucking judge decided to sentence him 2 to 4 years in prison with no bail. So we can clearly all say that this judge clearly had it out for Meek by granting no bail for some bullshit like that. But luckily for Meek, the PA Supreme Court issued an order to the lower court to grant Meek an early release on bail. Meek is out, but he's not fully free because he's still one that's in the system. So we can just hope that things work out better from that. But it's better to have him out and being able to somewhat have his freedom than being stuck in a box, because you never know what could happen. I guess basically after saying this whole little story and that whole mouthful, which you might know or might not know, I think I just still scratch my head that how the fuck does the judge expect anyone to move on from their past mistakes if they're constantly unable to travel to make ends meet and do what their career entails them to do? And how does someone who was charged but had the charges dropped for 2 recent incidents get 2 to 4 years sentence with no bail when they haven't technically done anything applicable to the law? Sounds like an issue with this so-called system, if you ask me. I think that's why Meek being locked up was such a big deal. Let's compare this situation to Brock Turner. You know who Brock Turner is, right? Oh, you don't? Well, if you do, then good. That means you actually pay attention to some things, whether you read it in the newspaper, in the news, or in the article. But white media try to cover up a lot of their bullshit. So let me tell you who the fuck Brock Turner is. Brock Turner was a fucking white guy who was a swimmer. I don't even know what school it was because all that shit's irrelevant. But he was a prize swimmer at this school. Brock, on a drunken night, raped a girl who was drunken unconscious. So this white guy who was a prize swimmer raped a girl who was unconsciously drunk. That white boy only got 3 months in prison. No, not 3 years. 3 months in prison. What kind of sick world we live in is someone who rapes a girl who was unconsciously drunk and that someone only gets 3 months in prison, but someone who was arrested and not convicted of a crime gets 2 to 4 off the rip with no bail? Go ahead. I'll wait. I did some research online, and according to a study, it says that 1 out of every 9 black men are in prison. It's also reported that we as blacks only represent 14% of the U.S. population, but we represent 35% of the people in jail. How does that even work when this is America, the home of the free? I'm not looking for real answers because we all know the real reason on why things are like how they are. It just bothered me when I see black women on my Facebook talking about who cares that Meek is free. The situation is bigger than just Meek's situation. And I hope he does, as he says on his social media, that he will do. And he uses his platform and resources to bring awareness to help other black brothers that are incarcerated that don't have the same resources or support or accessibility he does. As long as he can do that and we continue to try to help each other, that's all it's about. So I will say salute to Meek Mill. Glad you're free. And I'm looking forward to some new music soon, brother. Couldn't get out of here without giving a big shout out and salute to James Shaw Jr. James is a 29-year-old urban millennial who is a damn hero. I'm sure everyone has heard about the crazy guy who walked into the Waffle House in Nashville, Tennessee and opened fire, killing 4 people and injuring 4 others. James was the one who took the opportunity when presented to try and wrestle away the AR-15 from the crazy guy. The guy who was naked and in nothing but a green jacket when he started his attack. Mental illness. He basically saved everyone in the restaurant besides the 4 that unfortunately had their lives taken away. James could have sat back and did nothing, but he saw his opportunity and did what he could try to get himself and the others out of there safely. I'm not going to really talk about everything he talked about, but I think that if you haven't heard, this is a story that you should look up because it's a great story about him, not because the people lost their lives. Prayers to their family. We don't like to hear things like that, and I just can't stand it. But keeping it positive, I love hearing stories like this in regards to somebody doing something positive because we're always painted in this light that, we're just dumb and we're ignorant. And then, it goes to show that we aren't a selfish race and we aren't only about self, and we are about being better for ourselves and mankind. I don't want to tank the positivity of what James did by discussing negative BS that put him in the spot in the first place. But I do want to say this, and I'm petty Reese a little bit, so I can't help it. I'm going to leave you with this. I saw this post on Twitter the other day, and I'm only going to read half of it to you. It's going to be like a game. I'm going to read half of it to you, and I want you to think to yourself something that everything in this post has in common. What you realize that is in common on everything listed in this post is actually going to be the other half of what this post had read. So, the post had these things I'm going to list off pretty much in like a numerical order. Like, so up and down, 1, 2, 3. But then next to it, it had something, but everything was similar. So I'm just going to read what this post said. So it said, Aurora, Orlando, Parkland, Las Vegas, Sandy Hook, Waffle House, Texas Church. Let's see if you can piece together my riddle. And if you do, I hope you're shaking your head as hard as I am. Thank you for listening to the FMFU podcast, the podcast that's from me and for us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and comment, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Also, make sure you get at me on my social media pages. I have a Facebook page, which you can search for From Me For Us, or you can leave it in a status at FMFU_podcast. Also, get at me on Twitter and Instagram at the same @names. That's at FMFU_podcast. Remember, people, always keep it a buck, always keep it 1,000, and perception is everything. I hope you have a nice day. Still fuck y'all.